On Christmas Eve, I was locked out and heard my mom mock me as her ATM, so I completely froze every payment and made her regret underestimating me. I still remember the day my mom collapsed in the kitchen, the sound of a dull thud cutting through the boiling water and the smell of scorched pasta. I was studying at the dining table, red pen in hand, correcting my younger brother's math homework while he sneakily turned on the TV to watch cartoons. When I rushed over, Mom's eyes were wide open but vacant, like her mind had drifted somewhere far away. She came to a few seconds later, mumbling, "I'm fine, sweetie, just a little tired." But even at 13, I could see something was deeply wrong. She hadn't been fine for a long time. Back then, we lived in a small town called Maple Ridge on the outskirts of Pennsylvania, a place where winters bit through your bones and summers melted the asphalt beneath your shoes. Our pale blue two-story house, its shingles faded by time, used to be home to 4 people until my dad packed up everything that made him the man of the house and drove south with a woman named Charlene. I never blamed him for leaving. Most of my memories of him were filled with silence at the dinner table, the reek of cigarettes in his car, and yelling at my mom over a towel being hung the wrong way. When he left, I thought maybe the house would feel lighter. It didn't. His absence didn't bring peace. It dumped every burden squarely onto my mother's shoulders. Her name was Lorraine. She was a night shift nurse at the county hospital, working until dawn. She'd come home just as the sun peeked over the rooftops, body sagging like a snapped branch. On those days, I'd set my alarm for 5 a.m. to make her a cup of black tea with 1 sugar cube. She had a sweet tooth, even though her doctor warned it was bad for her heart. Our family was reduced to 3, my mom, me, and my little brother Dylan. He was 4 years younger with golden hair and a baby face that always managed to dodge consequences. Whenever he broke a dish, forgot homework, or even skipped class, Mom would say, "He's still just a kid. Don't be so hard on him." As for me, if I came home 15 minutes past curfew, I'd get that sharp, icy stare and the usual, "You're supposed to set an example." At some point, though I couldn't tell you when, I became the family's model child. When Mom worked nights, I cooked dinner, kept Dylan on track with school, did the laundry, and mopped the floors if he spilled milk again. On days Mom was too tired to open her eyes, I'd bike her to checkups on my old 10-speed with Dylan in the back seat holding a paper bag of medicine. When I was 15, an age when my friends were picking out prom dresses, I was figuring out how many extra shifts I needed at the corner cafe to buy Dylan's summer school textbooks. Mom never asked. She didn't have to. I could see the weight of the world in her slumped posture every morning. I thought if I carried part of it, maybe she'd suffer less. Meanwhile, Dylan drifted through life like the world was designed for his comfort. He got the say in what we had for dinner, hugged the TV remote, and once Mom even pawned my laptop to buy him a new phone. When I protested, she looked at me coldly and said, "He needs it for school. You should learn to sacrifice." Sacrifice? That word clung to my teenage years like a curse. My name is Isabella. I was born in Maple Ridge, a town where everyone knew your secrets and never let you forget them. I'm 32 now, but the cuts from childhood, they never really healed. I'm not sharing this for sympathy. I just want you to understand. Some families don't need fists to hurt you. They do it with expectations, with silence, with love that always seems to belong to someone else, even when you're the one holding everything together. And I stayed silent for years until one Christmas Eve. I stood at the doorstep of that old house with a homemade apple pie in hand and neatly wrapped presents, and they slammed the door shut right in my face. But hold on, let me take you back to where it began. This isn't just a story about betrayal. It's the journey of how I stepped out of the role of the one who endures and became someone finally free. There's so much more to tell, but that comes later. After graduating from Penn State with honors in brand management, I chose to stay in Pittsburgh rather than move to somewhere crowded like New York or Los Angeles. Part of it was that I just landed a job at a small advertising firm downtown. The other part, I didn't feel right leaving Mom and Dylan alone in Maple Ridge. Even though he had a license by then, Dylan hadn't locked down a steady job. Mom was still grinding through night shifts like a tired soldier who never got leave. I rented an apartment just an hour's drive from home. Every Sunday, I'd show up with fresh groceries, barbecue meat, imported Italian sauces, and play chef in our old kitchen. No paycheck involved. Mom often fell asleep in the recliner mid-movie, while Dylan devoured 2 servings and vanished into his room with his gaming console. Those dinners became less about connection and more about obligation, but I kept them going anyway. Some small part of me believed if I held on to that ritual, we wouldn't fall apart. Everything changed when I was 27. A media corporation in Austin emailed me about an interview. The salary was nearly double with the chance to work on global campaigns. I gave it a week. During that time, I made Mom's favorite stew, helped Dylan revise his resume, and cried in my car for 30 minutes after our last Sunday dinner. When I finally told them, Mom stayed quiet, then said, "You should go. No one here is stopping you." It sounded like support, but her face said otherwise. Dylan just laughed and slapped my shoulder. "They've got famous barbecue in Austin. You better send me some." Truth is, he never even liked barbecue. I moved to Texas that June. The heat was brutal, but the buzz of a creative office kept my mind off sweat and smog. That first month, I texted Mom every day, sent Dylan memes, and had flowers delivered on Mondays. No reply ever exceeded 5 words. By the third month, Mom called past midnight, said the AC broke down completely, probably built up in the pipes. It'll be about $30,500 to fix. I wired the money by morning. By month 5, Dylan called, voice panicked. His car was in a minor crash and insurance didn't cover it all. "I need $4,000 fast or I'll lose my job." I sent $4,500 just in case of hidden costs. The smaller things became routine. When I got a raise, I set up automatic transfers. $750 for Mom, $450 for Dylan. Monthly, I saw it as the thread tying us together. Not too tight, not too loose. After my first year in Austin, I came home for Thanksgiving. In the kitchen, I noticed a brand new gleaming stove, a modern dishwasher, and a marble-topped island. When I asked about it, Mom just shrugged. The old ones were all rusted out, so I replaced them. Dylan's room looked like a control center. Widescreen curved monitor over 3 feet wide, ergonomic gaming chair, and a brand new VR set box still tossed in the corner. He still didn't have a stable job, according to Mom, but proudly claimed he had been beta testing a new game under exclusive invite. I didn't say anything. I just stared at the fridge filled with imported food. Back in Austin, I called Mom on video. The camera caught only half her face. It was tilted awkwardly. She said the hospital was overcrowded and she was exhausted. When I asked about Dylan, she replied, "Your brother's stressed out from job hunting, so don't put any more pressure on him." I smiled lightly and said I'd send over some extra money so Dylan could relax a little. She thanked me and hung up. The following year, after I was promoted to team lead, I was constantly flying to Seattle for work. During that time, Mom messaged saying the roof needed repairs due to the March storm and Dylan had switched majors again and needed a new laptop for his capstone project. I sent the money without asking further. Once I even sent a care package filled with Southern treats, photo books, and clothes I picked out myself. No one replied. It all peaked during my 3rd Christmas away from home. I had the flu, curled up in my apartment while it was 39 degrees outside. I called home hoping to share a little sadness, but Mom only asked, "Did you send the gift card yet?" Dylan said, "There's a sale, but he hasn't received it." When I coughed violently mid-response, she simply said, "Drink warm water, I'm busy." Got to roast the chicken. I placed the phone on the table. My hand, trembling from fever, no longer shook from the cold. I couldn't tell if what I felt was sadness, disappointment, or anger. Maybe all of it, quiet like snow covering the front yard of a house you once thought was waiting for you. And yet, I kept sending money. On the 15th of every month, the transfers went out like clockwork, like blood flowing through an invisible artery connecting the 3 of us. Mom, my brother, and me, the daughter standing quietly at the edge of a party called family. I used to believe that if I kept giving, they'd eventually understand that love doesn't always come in sweet words. Sometimes it's tucked into the bills you quietly pay. I really believed that. But how far can someone sacrifice before they stop being considered part of the family? The answer came later at a front door on a freezing night when I brought Mom a homemade apple pie. But that's a story for another night, one I'll never forget. There was a time I began to wonder if I was just talking to myself inside my own family. Text to Mom. "Did you eat breakfast?" Got nothing but a cold thumbs up emoji. Video calls were declined with the excuse of poor signal, though I'd see Facebook check-ins of her at nail salons, smoothie in hand with the hashtag self-care. Dylan only called when he needed money. If I reached out just to hear his voice or check in, the only response I got was silence or "I'm busy. I'll call you later." There was never a call back. On my 30th birthday, I didn't expect a party. I just hoped Mom would remember and Dylan would send a message. No gift needed, just a few words to show I still existed in their world. But the only notification that day came from my bank. Mom had withdrawn her monthly support payment at 6 a.m. I took myself out to dinner at a small restaurant by Town Lake. The red wine wasn't sweet, The steak was overcooked, but I didn't complain. The server asked if someone would be joining me. I smiled. No, I'm here to treat myself for surviving 30 years. Back at my apartment, I opened the gift I'd ordered 2 weeks earlier, a silk dress I had picked for myself. The only gift I got that day from the only person who never left me. Me. That Christmas, I still sent gifts to Maple Ridge. Each one wrapped in silver foil with handwritten cards. A ukulele for Dylan. He once said he wanted to learn music to calm his mind. A luxury lavender-infused skincare set for Mom, the kind she'd sampled at a high-end store but hesitated to buy. Both packages arrived on time. I triple-checked the tracking. No one replied. No photo. No thank you. On Facebook, Dylan posted party pictures at home with a few friends. The ukulele was under the table, still in its box. Mom reshared a post about how to choose perfume for someone special with the comment, "Wish someone knew what scent I actually liked." Reading that felt like something clenched my chest. On New Year's Day, I called. The phone rang 12 times, then went to voicemail. I spoke slowly, my voice dropping. "Just wanted to wish you a happy New Year. Hope you're both doing okay. It's fine if you can't call back." That Easter, Dylan texted me from an unknown number asking if I could help out with a rental deposit, since he ran into an issue transferring leases. I didn't reply right away. In my mind, I saw his latest Instagram post. Him next to a modded sports car, beer in hand, standing in front of a lakeside apartment. 4 days later, I sent the money anyway, but this time I added a note. "Hope you find your footing soon." Dylan never replied. Last Thanksgiving, I took time off work to return to Maple Ridge after 2 years. I gave 1 month's notice. No one confirmed. I went anyway. When I arrived, Mom opened the door in silk pajamas, a little surprised. "Oh, you really came? I thought you'd changed your mind." There was nothing on the table except a store-bought pie. Dylan wasn't home. Mom smiled. He went on a trip with his girlfriend. They booked it already. Couldn't cancel. I said it was fine. I could cook. Mom just shrugged and went back to her room, leaving me standing there with 2 grocery bags I hadn't even put down yet. That night, I sat alone in the kitchen, roasting chicken and sautéing greens, setting the table nicely, pouring myself a glass of white wine I'd brought. Under the yellow light, I stared at the empty chair across from me, and for the first time felt completely like a stranger in the house that once was mine. After that visit, I stopped calling, but the money still went out on time. Mom only reached out when something happened. Insurance didn't cover meds. The oven broke midwinter. Dylan's laptop got ruined by a spill. I kept sending the money out of habit. Though part of me had started to wonder, were those things truly necessary? One day during lunch, my phone buzzed. Dylan was calling. I got excited, but less than 10 seconds in, he asked, "Can you cover the coding course registration? It's like 1,200 short." I swallowed hard. My mouth tasted bitter. "How long is the course?" 2 months, but they recommend getting the full toolkit up front. That's why it's pricey." I asked, "Are you sure this is a serious path for you?" He scoffed. "You don't believe in me?" I didn't answer. I just said, "Let me think about it." That night, I opened my laptop. For the first time in years, I reviewed all the transfers I'd made to Mom and Dylan. The total made my heart pause, over $75,000 in 5 years. With that money, I could have nearly paid off a condo in Austin. Instead, I'd bought silence and distance from the people I once called home. A hollow opened in my chest like someone had just sucked all the air out of the room. I closed my laptop, stood up, and stepped onto the balcony. The night breeze carried the scent of burning wood from the street vendor below. The faint yellow lights glowing on neighboring rooftops reminded me of warm holiday seasons from long ago, when a plate of cookies and laughter in the kitchen were enough to define a family. But those memories had long since gone to sleep. What remained were empty shells, awkward gatherings, forgotten gifts, greetings swallowed by indifference. The question I'd avoided for years returned clearer than ever. Was I ever truly loved or just kept around like a walking wallet? I didn't know, but the silence had begun to suffocate me. And when you can no longer hear your own voice in a conversation, sometimes leaving is the only way to survive. I turned down a trip to Maui with the marketing team just to spend one Christmas with my family. Oddly enough, even I was surprised I'd done that. For years, the holidays had been my excuse to stay busy, to avoid facing the feeling of being left out. But that winter, I wanted to try again. Not out of duty, but out of hope. That fragile but persistent thing that keeps glowing even after being doused again and again. I took a full week off and planned everything carefully. Client accounts were handed off, emails were queued, even the tree in my apartment had been twinkling since early December. I just needed one thing, to go home, not as the bank account, but as the daughter returning. I started by recreating Grandma's apple pie, once scribbled in a worn brown leather notebook, now scattered through fragments of memory. It took me 3 nights and 8 burnt pies before I nailed the flaky crust and soft cinnamon filling. My tiny kitchen in Austin had never smelled like that before. It made me cry and laugh at the same time. I picked each gift carefully. For Mom, an ivory silk scarf and a spa voucher at a lakeside resort near Erie, the one she always dreamed of visiting. For Dylan, a limited edition gaming console he mentioned in a group chat months ago, plus tickets to a reunion concert of the band he idolized in high school. Gifting strangers is easy. Gifting people who've gone cold on you, that's the hard part. Still, I wrapped each present in shimmering silver blue paper, writing their names in the neatest cursive I could manage. On December 23rd, I hit the road. Snow blanketed the scenery and the car moved cautiously on the slick roads. I called Mom when I stopped at a gas station near Columbus just to let her know I was almost there. She picked up with the same tone you'd use ordering pizza. Okay, just drive slow. I'm finishing the main dish. You might arrive while people are eating. People? I asked lightly. Some of Dylan's friends and a few folks from my club. Not many. Should I stop and grab more dessert? No need, just come. The call ended like someone flipping off a light switch. I put the phone on the passenger seat, heart tightening despite all the mental prep. I was used to this kind of indifference, but it didn't mean I was immune. The rental sedan skidded a little as I turned onto Maple Street. The 2-story house I grew up in appeared behind the tall pines, string lights glowing amber along the eaves like a picture-perfect holiday ad. The driveway was full. A red SUV blocked the garage, parked next to a black sedan with out-of-state plates. I pulled up to the curb, tugged my coat tight, and hugged the warm pie box and gift bags to my chest. The door opened on the first ring. Mom stood there, hair freshly dyed, a soft blonde curled neatly, makeup flawless, velvet burgundy dress, cocktail in hand. Her eyes widened, not with emotion, but surprise mixed with weariness. Before I could speak, she shifted to block the doorway, her smile freezing midair. Sorry, you must have the wrong house. I froze, thinking I misheard. Mom, she glanced over my shoulder, then whispered, voice urgent. Not now, Isabella, there are guests. I stepped back, my fingers tightened on the gift bag handles. I gave notice. You knew I was coming. We'll talk later. Please go. No, I drove almost 10 hours. I brought gifts. I baked Grandma's pie. I just wanted... Isabella. She cut me off, voice hard. This party is not for you. Don't make a scene, please. I turned to look inside. Through the crack in the door, I saw Dylan laughing with a blonde girl. The dining table was draped in silk, glassware chiming gently. Dylan stepped out when he saw me. He looked surprisingly polished, white shirt, sleeves neatly rolled. His face flickered when he recognized me. Sis. Mom turned to him, stepped inside and whispered, delivery person. Dylan hesitated. I waited for him to say something, anything. But all I got was you should have texted again. I stared at him, hollow. How many times is enough? It's sensitive. Mom's trying to impress her business guests by pretending her daughter doesn't exist. A countdown rang out from inside. 3, 2, 1, followed by Merry Christmas and applause. Music started playing. Mom slid the door shut. I remained on the steps, the pie tilted in the box, its warmth vanishing into the cold. Moments later, I gently placed the box down along with the heavy gift bag. The snow sank under their weight, covering my ankles. I turned away, steps heavy toward the car, one question buried deep in my chest. How does someone who once called me sweetheart look me in the eye and pretend I was never born? I got into the car, shut the door, no tears. Not because it didn't hurt, but because the cold had already drained every drop of water from my body. There was no room left for tears. I sat there staring blankly at the blinking lights of the house I once called mine. My hands stayed clenched on the steering wheel, stiff like they'd frozen solid in the winter air. The SUV's turn signal flashed in the side mirror, casting a sharp orange glow across my face every time someone entered or exited the party behind that door. No one picked up the gift I left. No one cared about the apple pie going cold by the second. My phone rang. Duh. My chest tightened. I inhaled and answered without a word. His voice came through small and urgent. Are you still out there? I nodded, though no one could see. Yeah. Dylan was quiet for a moment. It sounded like he was stepping into a corner somewhere to avoid being overheard. About earlier. Mom shouldn't have done that. She's just a little stressed. You get it, right? No, I said, voice low. Not really. Look, this party's important. Is it Reese is here? Mom's investment partner for the spa project and you showing up out of nowhere without confirming. It threw her off. Next time. I didn't reply. There was a faint click. It seemed Dylan forgot to end the call when someone called him back inside. I pulled the phone away, ready to hang up, when a woman's voice came from behind him. Who was that? Mom said, "Come back in." "Hi, sister," Dylan replied, unable to hide the irritation. Then came a scoff. Mom's voice, clear, sharp. "She's still out there, all these years, and she still doesn't know her place." A man chimed in, indifferent. "Why even call her? What if she thinks we actually invited her and latches on?" I held my breath, didn't dare blink. Every sound rang out with unnerving clarity, like the phone had become a microscope exposing every cell in my betrayed heart. "Didn't think she'd really come," Mom said. "I figured being vague would be enough for her to stay in Austin." "Whatever," Dylan added casually. "As long as she sends the money on time each month, the rest we don't need the drama." "It's not like I lied," Mom continued. "Whenever she asks anything, I just say busy and that's it. If it weren't for her, I wouldn't have been able to open that club account, let alone start the spa project." Glass clinked. A few quiet laughs followed. "She thinks a silk scarf and a spa voucher make an impression. Meanwhile, she's still sending regular money every month. No need to butter us up. She really is a walking aid." That came from Dylan. No trace of a joke, no sign of stopping. I felt the blood in my body chill. My heart didn't hurt from being squeezed anymore. It was just hollow, like someone had deleted the memory file labeled family and replaced it with scheduled financial transactions. Another female voice, maybe Dylan's girlfriend, cut in between the sounds of clinking dishes. "Well, Isabella is doing fine. I mean, have you seen her stories? Fancy restaurants, beaches, first-class flights. She probably feels good helping out." The laughter continued, quiet, scattered, but none of them disagreed. The call ended on its own when Dylan seemed to return to the dinner table. The phone hit the surface and the screen went dark. I stared at it, the black screen reflecting my own face. Strangely unfamiliar, ashen. No one left to call, no reason to wait. I opened my banking app. My hand trembled. In front of me was a long list of automatic payments. $750, Margaret R. Mortgage. $450, Dylan R. Education Support. $1,200 a one-time, laptop crash. $500 a one-time, health emergency. I scrolled further. 2 years of rent. 3 years of car expenses. A secondary credit card for Mom with a $3,000 limit. Now maxed out. I quietly screenshotted each line. Saved every receipt. Not to sue, just to remember. They didn't love me. They spent my money like water. But what I couldn't forgive was that they laughed at my longing to belong. In that moment, a cold, clear decision appeared, like a glowing street sign in the dark. I would no longer fuel this fake relationship with my blood, sweat, and savings. I placed my finger on the Cancel Scheduled Transfers button. The dashboard lights in the car blinked softly onto my phone screen. One tap, everything ended, not with words, but with action. On the porch behind me, shadows moved, music played loud. But where I sat, no sound could reach anymore. Just like the door that had closed in my face hours ago. Cold, silent, final. I started the car. The tires crushed the snow, leaving a long trail down Maple Street, like the last trace of someone who had once been a daughter, a sister, a hope. But now nothing at all. I left Maple Ridge just past midnight. The car rolled quietly along a snow-covered highway. Behind me, the house dimmed as if I'd never been there. In my ears, the conversation echoed in sync with each heartbeat. No sirens, no alarms. This betrayal didn't arrive with noise. It came in silence and consent. The first rest stop was about 40 miles out of town. A 24-hour coffee shop, its yellowish lights spilling from fogged-up windows. I picked a corner table sitting across from my laptop screen. One hand pulled out my card. The other hovered over the trackpad. No hesitation, no second-guessing. The bank interface loaded. Under scheduled transfers were 2 familiar lines. Monthly $750 to Margaret Reed. Monthly $450 to Dylan Reed. I clicked cancel. The system asked for confirmation. I hit yes. A small notification popped up in the top corner. Transfers successfully canceled. Next, I went to the authorized users section. 2 supplementary cards, one for Mom, one for Dylan. Activated since 2019. Both still active. Used regularly. This month's spending had already topped $1,300, mostly from Mom's card at fashion, stores, spas, and a hotel in Asheville. I clicked report as compromised. Check both. The system gave a warning about temporary suspension and reissuing new cards. I confirmed without pause. Back in my inbox, my hands had steadied. I drafted a new email to margaretdillonreadmail.com, subject line, termination of financial support. Effective immediately. No warm introductions. I typed each line like a surgeon removing necrotic tissue. Quick, precise, emotionless. Mom and Dylan. I've canceled all scheduled transfers, credit card authorizations, and any form of financial support as of this moment. The total amount I've sent to the family over the past 5 years is $82,730, including $36,000 via direct transfers to Mom, $22,500 for Dylan, $18,000 through credit card expenses. The rest in gifts, flights, and paid bills on your behalf. All receipts, statements, and notes are archived. These funds were given in good faith with trust and the hope of maintaining a bond. But recent conversations have made one thing clear. I'm not seen as a valued member of this family. I'm just an anonymous source of money. Please do not call, text, or send any further requests. I will not respond. Any attempt to circumvent or reuse my financial access will be considered fraudulent and will be reported to authorities if needed. I owe no one anything. And what I gave I don't need back, but I will not give any more. Isabella. I hit send and closed my eyes. A soft whoosh signaled the message had gone out. No explosion, no fireworks, but something collapsed in my chest and something else lifted. It felt like someone had finally unwrapped the straps around my ribs after decades of endless winter. I didn't go back to Austin right away. That night, I booked a room at a roadside motel. Thin blankets, strong disinfectant smell, and a rattling heater. I sat on the bed with my laptop in my lap and reopened the spreadsheet I had just finished at the cafe. 5 years of support, financial breakdown. Every line was a memory I once believed came from love. The money I sent when Mom said a corner of the roof blew off in a storm, which turned out to be for a golf club membership. The $1,800 Dylan asked for to buy design software used to book flights for a ski trip to Vermont. The $900 I wired when Mom claimed she was at risk of losing the house from late payments. The same day she posted a check-in from a luxury spa with the caption "Deserve to be pampered." Each figure cut like a small wound, but when pieced together there was no bleeding, only the full picture of something I used to call family duty. I printed the whole record, clipped the pages, and left them on the table next to my bag. When I finally drifted off to sleep, my head wasn't spinning with why or what if. The truth was crystal clear. No more gray areas. The next morning, I woke before dawn. My phone screen showed 14 missed calls, 7 messages, 3 emails. I didn't open a single one. My headlights lit the fog-covered road. I shifted into gear and pulled away from the motel without looking back. Every mile back to Austin wasn't just distance. It was me walking out of the web of manipulation once called family. That afternoon, when I got back to Austin, my phone lit up like a broken dam, message after message flashing across the screen. Why would you do this right during the holidays? Dylan can't get gas. His card's been declined. Do you even realize what you're causing? If I lose the spa contract over this, don't blame me for suing you for financial damage. The tone changed by the hour. Mornings were scolding. By noon, it shifted to guilt-tripping. By nightfall, it turned into pleading, as if sugar-coated words could erase hundreds of invisible stabs. One message from Mom made me stop mid-step. I've carried this family on my own for decades. You have no right to punish me like this. If you don't want to be called heartless, fix this now. I didn't reply, didn't delete, didn't reread. The next morning, my email inbox was filled with subject lines in all caps. Card blocked. Call back now. Why cut off the funds out of nowhere? I'm not begging, I'm just borrowing. I set my phone face down on the table. The apartment was so quiet, I could hear the air purifier change modes. By midday, as I sat on the couch holding a glass of orange juice I hadn't touched, a FaceTime call from Dylan popped up. I didn't answer. He called 5 more times in a row, then a message. What do you want? An apology? Fine. I'm sorry. Now can you turn the card back on? I'm not joking anymore. I stayed silent. An hour later, Mom sent an email titled, "Disappointed Beyond Words." Inside it, a paragraph stood out. I used to think you were the only one who understood me, but now I see you're just calculating, vengeful, and abandoning. Disappointed. That word kept appearing like a final weapon aimed at what emotions I had left for them. No mention of the cruel jokes they made on Christmas Eve. No acknowledgement that they schemed to use my money for the spa deal, golf membership, or Dylan's girlfriend's gifts. All they saw was me as the traitor. That night, I opened my laptop and typed therapist specializing in family boundaries, Austin. I found an office just 3 blocks from my apartment. They had a counselor named Angela Norris specializing in cases involving emotional manipulation within families. I booked a session. Our first appointment was in a room with sage green upholstered chairs and a faint lavender scent. Angela slid a tissue box toward me after just 2 sentences. I've spent over $80,000 on my mom and brother, and what I got in return was being told I didn't belong at the party. I didn't cry, my eyes burned, my voice cracked like brittle paper. Angela didn't interrupt. She listened to each part. When I told her about the overheard call, her eyes dimmed with gravity. They didn't just exploit you financially, she said after a long pause. They manipulated your emotions too. They made your self-worth hinge on what you could give, then made you believe stopping made you a bad person. I nodded. It felt like a blindfold had been removed. I don't know who I am if I'm not the one holding everything up. Then it's time to find out, she replied. Not through obligation, through choice. After that session, I started writing down the events. Not sugar-coated, not excused, just facts, my reactions, and how I felt. I titled each short entry, The Laptop Dylan Never Needed, The Dinner Mom Forgot, The Ignored Message, The Blank Birthday Card. When I finished, I didn't cry. I printed it, tucked it into a drawer as a reminder. I don't owe anyone a justification. Over the following week, I cut off the secondary phone line Dylan had under my name, then the Netflix account Mom had been using. I locked the shared shopping app account, removed Mom from the health insurance I had secretly added her to so she could get medical care more easily. Each action was a small step, pulling myself out of a family shadow that had swallowed me whole for years. By the time I returned to the office, the new year had already settled in for a few weeks. Lisa, my direct manager, looked at me longer than usual during the Monday morning meeting. There's something different about you, Isabella, she said. I can't quite tell what it is, but you seem lighter. I smiled, a real one, effortless. That afternoon, I unlocked my drawer and pulled out an old photo taken at the house in Maple Ridge. I was standing behind the Christmas dinner table, a strange smile beneath twinkling lights. I removed it from the frame, folded it, and slipped it into an envelope. Not to throw away, just to put away. I no longer needed proof. Everything worth remembering had been recorded. Everything I chose to forget. Time would handle that. As for me, I was finally free from being anyone's daughter, sister, or financial provider. Spring came like a soft whisper. No grand entrance, no fanfare, just a morning where, as I opened the balcony door, the air no longer bit at my skin. The maple tree outside had begun to bud, shy, pale green leaves peeking out. Standing there, a mug of chamomile tea in hand, I felt my body not bracing for once. Angela suggested I try something new each week. Not for any goal, not to prove anything, just to rebuild the habit of living as a regular person. Not a walking wallet, not the over-functioning employee. I enrolled in a Wednesday evening watercolor class designed for seniors and office workers wanting to learn how to slow down and see. I was the youngest. The oldest was Mrs. Clara, 74, lived in the apartment below mine, a retired high school literature teacher from Maine. She started talking to me during the 3rd session while I was struggling to fix the shadows I'd painted in the wrong direction. You think you're correcting a mistake? She said, dabbing her brush like she was crafting a love letter. But really, you're erasing what made it yours. I'm not sure I ever had a style, I half-joked. Everyone's born with one. But if they keep handing you their brush, you forget. After that, I'd stop by her apartment after class. She made buttery, crisp cookies and her tea was so strong it didn't need sugar. In her tiny kitchen filled with the smell of cinnamon and vanilla, I told her about my mom, Dylan, and how I tried so hard to hold together a family that never really existed. My son once pressured me to sell the lake house to fund his startup, she said, pouring more tea. It failed in 1 quarter, everything gone. He never apologized, but he sent flowers that Mother's Day. I gave a tight laugh. Did you forgive him? I love him, but I never opened another account in his name. Every Sunday, I cooked dinner and brought it over to Clara's. Over time, a few neighbors joined. Betty, who rescues cats, Harold, a widower, Lucia, a book editor. We called it the table where no one gets forgotten, no gifts required, no roles to play. If you were tired, you could just sit and listen. If you were happy, you could tell a silly story. I'd never felt so light during a meal. When December came around, I wasn't afraid. I didn't need to bake apple pies, didn't need to plan gifts for people who no longer said my name. The local community center needed holiday volunteers. I signed up. My job was serving meals to elderly folks living alone. I spent nearly 2 weeks learning about them, who liked mashed potatoes, who couldn't have sugar, who was allergic to soy. One gentleman used to play saxophone in Chicago bars during the 60s. I found him a vintage vinyl record at a flea market. One lady preferred mocha to hot chocolate. I made her a fresh cup every morning. On Christmas morning, I wore a red sweater and a Santa hat, served food, chatted, wiped spills, cleared plates. Before leaving the center, I paused at the doorway, looked at the warm dining hall, listened to the laughter woven into carols, and felt still, not sad, just deeply at peace, the kind I used to chase in a house that had no room for me. The following April, I was walking through the downtown arts district. Galleries hung hand-painted pieces, cafes buzzed with live music. I was admiring an oil painting of an old street when a familiar voice called out, "Isabella." I turned around. Dylan stood there, hands in his coat pockets, thinner hair, a mess. His gaze flickered between nervous and hopeful. "I thought that was you. You look different." I gave a soft smile. "Different. Good or bad? Good. I mean, you seem happy." "I am." We walked together for a few minutes. He said Mom sold the house. The spa never opened. Their investor pulled out. She's living with an aunt up north. Dylan's waiting tables at an Italian restaurant trying to start over. I didn't ask for details, didn't place blame. "No point," Dylan repeated. "I'm sorry for everything." I looked at him. "No more anger, no more ache. I hear you. Mom talks about you sometimes, asks if you're doing okay. Let's hope she means it." "Do you think we could meet up again? Not to ask for anything, just, you're still my family." I stopped in front of a coffee shop. A cool breeze passed by. The smell of cinnamon and roasted beans hung in the air. "Family isn't about blood," I said, calm and steady. "It's where people love you without charging a fee, where no one calls you a burden when you need love." Dylan stayed quiet. I placed a hand on his shoulder, gave a small squeeze. "I wish you well. Truly." Then I stepped inside, didn't look back. At our usual corner table, Mrs. Clara was already seated, 2 steaming cups of milk coffee in front of her. "What made you smile like that?" "A strange little encounter that turned out to be light as air. Good. You deserve a life that doesn't feel heavy." I took the first sip. The smooth bitterness of coffee spread across my tongue. Outside, traffic moved along. Life carried on. But inside me, no one was pulling strings anymore. No one reaching into my pocket, draining my emotions or my bank account. Just one person, free and finally living for real. Isabella once believed family was irreplaceable, that sacrifice would always be returned with love. But after being betrayed by the very people she put first, she learned to set boundaries, protect her self-worth, and redefine the meaning of family. Now she lives a life of her own choosing, not bound by blood anymore, but surrounded by respect and honesty from those who truly deserve it. She never looked back. She moved forward, steady and unburdened.